Hello and welcome back. Now, let's talk about structuring your website. So here, we need to get into the actual ins and outs of how the Bootstrap 12-column grid works. It's pretty unique, and again, you'll get the hang of it quite fast. The Bootstrap 3.0 grid system works on a mobile-first point of view. So what that gives us the ability to do is actually change grid configurations based on different viewports, or think of viewports like different mobile devices. So maybe a phone has one viewport, a tablet maybe has a larger, and then a desktop screen has the largest. The grid system is broken up into 12 columns that uses a unique set of naming conventions. Pretty good if you're going to be developing a lot of Twitter Bootstrap sites to commit these to memory. We deal with extra small devices, or column XL. We also deal with small devices, col small, or SM. Medium devices, col MD, and of course large devices, anything past 1200 pixels, or almost any desktop screen that you'd encounter, or column large, or COLLG. So they also change the maximum width of these columns, defaulting down to percentages whenever we get incredibly small or anything under 768 pixels. So, as an example, one might write columns in this way. You would start with a row, and then include columns 1 through 12 for literally 12 columns all the way across equally sized column medium 1. And so with column medium, you know that you're targeting a desktop device, right? So if we're going to mix and match mobile and desktop, we might mix that up a little bit. So we have a row, then you have on a small phone, this is actually going to be 12 columns, so it's going to be the full width. However, if we're on a desktop, then it's going to be 8 columns. And then next to that, we're going to have on a phone, column 6, so that's half. And then if we're on a desktop, so column medium, we're going to have 4. And so the best way to learn more about the grid really is to try and mix and match these columns yourself. And you'll see a little bit as we dive into our site again. The other idea that we need to kind of clear up is offsetting and nesting columns. So to offset a column means that we might have 4 columns of content on one side of the page, and then we might want to push our site over just a bit without actually having any additional content. So think about something that you might use for that, like a logo. So perhaps a logo is over on this side, and navigation doesn't actually have to start until we're on the other side, and there's several other iterations of things that we could think of in that manner. So to do that, we just use a standard offset. In this case, we have column medium 4, so that gives us our 1st through 4th columns of content there. And then we're offsetting this. So we have a column MD4, standard, same thing right there. But then we add an additional column medium offset by 4. And so what that does is we're taking into account the 12 columns, and since 4 goes 3 times into 12, we're simply pushing this div over by 1/3. And it works just like that. The next thing we'll go over is actually nesting our columns. So the way that you can think of this is that anytime we have any sort of column within our website, we're always resetting. So within a row, you'll have a full 12 columns, but within any given element, so here we have a 9-column area, we would actually have an additional row within that. And it would just, that row would stretch all the way through the 9 columns, but then it would allow us to nest additional 6 columns and 6. So you can imagine within a 9-column area, we could have half and half within that fairly easily. So before we continue on with this course, you might want to take a break and review the grid yourself. Start out with a blank page with Bootstrap loaded in, and play around with the columns with some placeholder text. I think you'll find it rather intuitive. And when you're ready, let's head on to the next video and we'll finish out our homepage.